Well, hi, buddy. It's John Elzinga, and welcome back to It's a Great Day to Serve the Lord. And today's devotional, this week's devotional, is going to be a little bit different. You'll understand why in just a second. There is, the Bible says, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to mourn and a time to dance. For the past few years, week after week, I've hopefully delivered meaningful, uplifting devotionals that, frankly, many of them kind of follow my personality. What I mean by that is, I tend to be a very serious guy, a very kind of intense guy, very passionate guy. In fact, sometimes I get into trouble because my passion and my intensity seems to come out negatively, from a negative framework. So the cure for serious people is that we need to learn to laugh. And believe it or not, I love to laugh. There have been times in my life that I've get in these, just this hysterical kind of laughing convulsions almost, So anyway, this week I want to communicate that our faith, though a serious thing, is a reflection of life with God, and that means we need to look at how God designed us. And God says there is a time to laugh. Laughter was created by God, and laughter is a result of or part of fun. It's light, and it comes often as a result of somebody making observations about how we live and operate as humans. That's why so many comedians start their joke with, have you ever noticed that, I teach a group of seniors at our church, and just great people. I love these people. But have you ever noticed that seniors tell the same story over and over again? And in fact, with this group of seniors in our Bible study, I'm serious. I keep telling the same story over and over again, and they seem to listen to it, enjoy it like it was the first time they heard it. I've been an old person for a while now, and when I worked my last position, I worked in the corporate office of a company called Pizza Ranch in the Midwest for the better part of about 9 years, and there was a time when I was the oldest person in the corporate office, and boy, I would get reminded about that all the time. I would get referenced all the time, like only old people would know that. Or, hey, let's ask John, he's old. Or, hey, John, did they really do that in your day? Or, they would ask me what it was like to live with Moses. So I'd tell them. Proverbs 17:22 says, "A cheerful heart is good medicine, but a crushed spirit dries up the bones." So to be cheerful is actually an antidote for a crushed spirit. Have you ever noticed that when someone laughs, it can be contagious? Laughter can cause an entire group of people to laugh. Laughter can even affect an entire corporate office, especially if the person can't stop laughing. It can be addicting, especially when a person can't stop laughing, and it can be addicting, and you can't help but laugh along with the person, which causes another person to laugh, and another person to laugh, and pretty soon a whole group of people are laughing. There was a colleague, a teammate of mine at Pizza Ranch, and he always used to know how to get me with his comments and the way he said something, or he'd point out something, and it would get me going, man. I'll tell you, it would get me going. And at one point, there was a new franchisee who had a name that just I don't know what it was, but it was his name just didn't. It seemed like a made up name. It didn't seem like a right name, and and I'm not going to tell you who it is. I don't want to slander him or anything like that. let me give you a kind of a name like that. Let's say his name was Brock Steele. I mean, does that sound like a real name to you? I mean, and I would listen to that name, would go on in my mind, and I'd start laughing like crazy, like that's not a real name. That's a made up name. I mean, and I would stop thinking about it, and then 5 minutes later, I'd think about it again, and I'd start laughing, get the giggles, just start laughing internally, and then pretty soon everybody in the department would be laughing along with me, and we were downstairs, and people up the stairs in the corporate office, they could hear us, and they would start laughing. Right now, in fact, I don't know what the item is that they're promoting. There's a TV ad. We call them, my wife and I call them the laughing grandmas. And, when they start laughing, one laughs, and then the other laughs, and then the other laughs. And pretty soon they're just laughing uncontrollably. They can't help but laugh. And after a while, just in that short ad, we start laughing along with them. The Bible says in Proverbs 15:13, a happy heart makes a face cheerful, but heartache crushes the spirit. One of the best things we can do is to learn to laugh at ourselves. It's called self-deprecating humor. So let me allow you to laugh at something I did several years ago. Let you laugh at me for a while. Back at that time when I worked at Pizza Ranch, our department, and it was the training department, we're kind of committed to kind of trying out, responding to people when we did something for them, responding to them with that wonderful retort that you've heard before from other restaurants, my pleasure. And we wanted to be a part of the culture, and so we kept repeating it over and over and over again in our responses. We'd say, my pleasure, when we did something for somebody, my pleasure, my pleasure. And we're going along and we're doing this, and it's becoming routine and becoming automatic, coming out of our mouth and saying, my pleasure, my pleasure, my pleasure. And during that time, I had my annual physical. And so I go to the doctor, to the doctor who was actually in the hospital there at that location, and they escort me into that little room, and so I'm in there, and the doctor walks in, and right behind him is this woman, and he introduces her as it was an intern or a resident or something like that, and he says, hey John, do you mind if she sits in with me on this physical? And I said, yeah, that's okay. Now, mind you, it wasn't invasive, or I didn't have to take my clothes off. It was mostly, feel this, touch that, listen to his heart, that kind of thing. And I talking about my blood tests, because I had taken my blood tests. And when it was done, as they were walking out the room, the lady doctor said to me, hey, thanks for letting me sit in. And I said, my pleasure. That's not quite the way it's intended to be used. I'm just thinking, that's not the right context for that response. Oh, man. Psalm 126 says, the first few verses, when the Lord restored the fortunes of Zion, we were like those who dreamed. It's like a dream. For Israel to have their fortunes restored as God's chosen people. And verse 2 says, our mouths were filled with laughter and our tongues with songs of joy. Then it was said amongst the nations, the Lord has done great things for them. The Lord has done great things for us, and we are filled with joy. There is a connection between joy and laughter, isn't there? There is a connection where our mouths are filled with laughter because we're so full of joy. When you listen to some children, maybe your children or your grandchildren, your mouth can be filled with laughter. Like when my oldest son, who was at that time, I don't know, he was 2 or 3 years old or something like that, and I think he was sick, or I can't remember the context or reason, but it was a Sunday and I stayed home with him from church. Maybe I was sick, I don't know. I stayed home with him from church that day, and I'm watching the Hour of Power with Robert Schuller, and you know that silver-haired preacher who would always wear a robe and start his messages with, "This is the day the Lord has made." And the minute he came on, the minute there was a picture of his silver hair and his deep voice, my son jumped up from his chair and said, "There's God." The things children say, huh? It can fill your mouth with joy and laughter. Just enjoying their presence, enjoying the quirky things they'll say, the interesting things they say, the way they say it. What a joy. I happen to have 10 grandchildren and just enjoy listening to my grandchildren. My friend, let me close by pointing out one of my favorite verses of all time, Psalm 118, verse 2, which says, "This is the day the Lord has made. Let us rejoice and be glad in it." To be glad in this day, to be glad in today. My phrase is, it's a great day to serve the Lord. It brings joy to your mouth just saying it, just thinking about it. You see, God made this day with a variety of things that you're going to be involved in, a variety of experiences that you're going to have, many of them serious, maybe some of them intense, maybe a few of them even sad. But when you encounter something funny, let your mouth be filled with laughter and joy. When you encounter something funny, laugh. Let yourself go. Let yourself laugh to the point where you're causing other people to laugh. When there's a story that you can share it, even if it's at your expense, and let other people laugh along with you, because like most things, God designed us to laugh together. It's known as fellowship. Well, my friends, this is the end of the devotional for this week, and if you've supported this channel, thank you so much. Would you please share this or like this video, or even better, would you subscribe to this channel? I'd greatly appreciate it. And if you would like to support it, just email me at john@johnelzinga.com. I'll send you back a link in which you can send in a donation. Well, God bless you, and remember, it's a great day to serve the Lord.